Hey everybody, welcome back to BobkeTV. Up next, it's the Brooom Wagon. Yes, indeed, got news from the Giro di Lombardia, tour of EuroMetropole, controversial sprint there. TUEs, back in the news. Musing, Lance Armstrong in the news also. And, of course, the tweet of the week. All of that coming up on the Brooom Wagon. All right, everybody, let's start with the good out of course, the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good, Esteban Chaves, very, very good in the Giro di Lombardia. The classic, the last monument of the season, the race of the falling leaves. 4,400 meters of climbing. I mean, that's a brutal amount of climbing. Most Grand Tour mountain stages don't have that much climbing. Closing in on 13,000 feet of climbing. And Esteban Chaves of the Orica squad becomes the first Colombian to win any monument. And the first Colombian to win Lombardia. And in third, another Colombian, Rigoberto Urán. So Colombians on fire in a very mountainous Giro di Lombardia edition. It's always very hilly, but this year was particularly grim. 4 riders contested the finale. Romain Bardet got dropped in the last little kick up to the Tal, the city above Bergamo. Diego Rosa, who had bridged up an impressive move by Diego Rosa to leave the field and bridge up to the 3 leaders, Urán, Chaves, and Bardet. And Diego Rosa was really on fire, but tactically not very astute. We'll get back to that in a second as part of the bad, actually. But a brilliant ride by Esteban Chaves, reading the race correctly, did everything perfectly. Rigoberto Urán looked like, out of the 3, probably the fastest sprinter. And so Urán pretty content to keep the riders in front away from the chasing Romain Bardet and the other followers. But just because of all the work he did, ran out of gas at the end. And it looked like Diego Rosa had made the right move at the right time coming into the last corner, 250 meters to go. He had a shot at the win. But Esteban Chaves came around at the last possible moment for an incredible win and a great, great season by Chaves. Had a brilliant Vuelta, finished 3rd. Had a great Giro d'Italia, led the Giro, finished on the podium there as well. Didn't quite get a Grand Tour victory, but I think there is one in Chaves' future, in the very near future for Esteban Chaves. The bad. Because of the tactics employed by Diego Rosa, did not have quite enough energy to win the race when he looked like he was the strongest guy. He made a couple of tactical blunders by attacking too far away from the finish line and was chased down each time and then lost the sprint by microns. And he was taken to task by Giuseppe Martinelli, the sports director of the Astana squad, but the tactical blunders did not begin in the finale for the Astana squad. Diego Rosa did tons of work for Fabio Aru, who it was a pretty epic fail on the part of Aru in Lombardia. Did not have the legs. Finally, with 50 Ks to go in the finale, he said, hey, ride your own race. But a little too little too late. He should have said that at the beginning. So Martinelli got down on Diego Rosa, perhaps because Diego Rosa is changing teams at the end of the year. Diego Rosa, I believe, going to Team Sky. And so Martinelli not holding back with his criticism, but he could also be taken to task for employing bad tactics from the beginning. And if Fabio Aru was not feeling it, Diego Rosa should have been a protected rider throughout the day. Then he would have had plenty of energy to win the Giro Lombardia. And that's how races are won and lost in professional cycling. And hats off to Esteban Chaves for a great win in Lombardia. I'd like to quote Martinelli real quick because it's pretty instructive. And the racers, they can listen to the sports director. So this is what Martinelli was trying to get Diego Rosa to understand. If Rosa had listened to me, he would have won. You can't throw away an occasion in that way. You can't lose like that. I mean, you can lose, but not by such an egregious miscalculation. And he went on to say, Martinelli, that he had only been more angry than that one time in his whole life. You feel like he's watching the race slip away right in front of his eyes when he had the strongest man in the race. Maybe should have thought of that at the start when they had their team meeting and designated Fabio Aru as the leader, and everybody worked for him throughout the day, a very tough day. And hindsight, as they say, is 20/20. You gotta love the Italians, and I think also Martinelli not holding back because Diego Rosa is changing teams. So, all right, next up, the tour of EuroMetropole, won handily by Dylan Groenewegen, who we got to know a little bit in the Vuelta. First year in the World Tour, 11 wins already, and looking solid for the World Championships coming up in Qatar. Especially, there's now talk that they might shorten the men's road race and the women's road race because of high temperatures. But this is a one-day classic in Belgium, and there was a 3-man breakaway with Oliver Nelson, Martin Wainants, who was a teammate of Dylan Groenewegen on Lotto Jumbo, Nason on IAM Cycling, and Yves Lampaert from the Etic squad. So the sprint didn't go Nason's way, but it went pear-shaped before the sprint ever transpired. Here is the last kilometer, and those 3 riders that were in the break just absolutely putting the brakes on, basically, and allowed the chase group to catch. So at this point, Groenewegen looked to be the fastest man. Jens de Busqueda, he got a little bit of a jump on it, and then Dylan Groenewegen goes. Very small group, so impressive riding by Groenewegen to get there. Nason tries to come through on the inside. Groenewegen feels him and opens up a little bit. Nason not sprinting, caught in a little gutter there, and very upset at the riding of Groenewegen, and raised his hand in protest, was very vociferous in protesting the result. But in all honesty, it looked like he had room and just did not have the legs. And I don't think that Groenewegen absolutely prevented him from coming around. I think that I would agree with the jury, which doesn't happen very often in this instance, that Nason had time and room to come around. And if you can see, Groenewegen moved back to his right a little bit and opens up a clear door for Nason to come through if he had the legs. Didn't have the legs. Groenewegen, a good win. Not a controversial sprint in the Tour de Vendée. That was won by Nasser Bohani. I think if you have to look at protested finishes amongst the sprinters, Bohani maybe is involved in the most of those. Disqualified recently at a race in Germany, but this time, no question about it. An emphatic win over Sam Dumoulin of the AG2R squad, and Dumoulin's celebrations on par with the actual winner, because Sam Dumoulin sealed the Coupe de France, a very prestigious race series for French professionals and French teams in the French races, and I believe anybody's eligible. But because there's so many races in the French calendar, generally speaking, it's French riders from French teams or foreign riders on French teams that do all of those races and have the best chance to win. And this year it was won by Sam Dumoulin, and a great ride in second place to seal that victory. The Ugly. This is the craziest story I've heard in a long time. It's like a recurring nightmare for most cyclists that they arrive to the start without their shoes, without their helmet, without their race number, and it really can disturb your sleep. Well, it came true for Rob Power in his first classic, and he got a last-minute call to do Lombardia. It would have been his first World Tour race. That's a heck of a way to start your World Tour racing, is the Giro di Lombardia. But Orica giving him the call up, and he left the bus just after the race had started. And so in most races, you would have a chance to get into the back of the field. They generally go pretty slow during the neutral section, at least. The problem with Lombardia is so many people came crowding in to the back behind the caravan, behind the flotilla of cars that follow all of the professional bike races. Rob Power, he could not get through all the people and missed the race. Just a nightmare that came true, and you gotta feel for the kid. Hopefully the next World Tour race, I wouldn't imagine he would be the first guy on the start line. It didn't seem to faze Esteban Chavez, who went on to win the Giro di Lombardia. But man, it could have been, I don't know, even a more emphatic win for Esteban Chavez. I mean, it worked out fine for the Orica squad, but Rob Powers, good luck being on time in the future. Sorry, folks, for this technical pause. I'm so inept technically that getting the Brooom Wagon up this week, the moon has gone down and the sun has actually come up, so struggling to get through it, but hopefully it's enjoyable. There's the good, there's the bad, there's the ugly, and there's the ludicrous. I think we're going to have to include that in BobkeTV Brooom Wagon in the future, but there's going to be a lot less opportunities for the ludicrous because Oleg Tinkov is leaving the sport, but not without some parting salvos directed straight at the viewers of the Tour de France, very uncomplimentary, and at his own superstar, Alberto Contador. Tinkoff saying he doesn't like Alberto Contador. They were not friends. He felt his inner circle of teammates on the Tinkoff squad was disruptive, bad for the program, and did not produce the results that he was paying for. So, and he also had a strong warning for Luca Guercilena from the Trek Segafredo squad, warning Luca and the team that they have to be careful of Alberto Contador and his and the people he's bringing into the Trek Segafredo program. So it's really, I'm not going to miss Oleg Tinkoff. I'm not going to miss his sometimes idiotic tweets. You know, there's been some great moments of the Tinkoff squad. You know, he threatened to not pay Peter Sagan in months past, and it just, I mean, what more does a guy want? What exactly more does he want? And apparently what he wanted was a return on his 50 million euro investment. He feels like the sport of cycling did not provide him with the return on his investment that he thought it should have. Very critical of the business model, without any solutions that could actually be put in place, and wishful thinking about the business model of cycling. And $4 you can buy a cup of coffee at Starbucks. Oleg Tinkoff, adios, best of luck, and good riddance. See you later. All right, let's go on to the Musette Musings. Lot to talk about. Romain Bardet stepping up. Romain Bardet weighing in on the TUE controversy surrounding Bradley Wiggins, saying he was amazed that Wiggins injected steroids before winning the Tour de France and competing in 3 Grand Tours. He's called for a general overhaul of the entire TUE program. He wants TUEs to be made public, and he says TUEs should not be allowed to treat imaginary illnesses. He was also a little bit disturbed about Wiggins' contradictions between reality and what Wiggins wrote in his autobiography, and all of those very valid points. So hats off, congratulations, chapeau to Romain Bardet for speaking out from a position of a rider that this and these abuses affects directly. So let's hope the UCI and WAD listen to Romain Bardet. They don't have to listen to me. I'm just a voice from the wilderness crying out for justice. But Romain Bardet, it takes a lot of courage to provide these sound bites, to do an interview like this. And it just is like, it sounds like sour grapes if you're not a big winner. And there's a lot of reasons not to, so I'm very, very edified and proud of Romain Bardet for stepping up and speaking his mind on a very important topic. And let's hope that if enough voices are critical of the current system, the UCI and WADA will take some steps to change that so the sport is fair for everybody. Imaginary illnesses. That is awesome. Also in the headlines this week, Lance Armstrong has been asked by the 1-0 conference in Dublin, Ireland, to speak about his experiences as a rider and presumably doping during his career. So Lance tweeted this out. Hey, Paul Kimmage, here's a thought. How about you and I do the interview at the 1-0 conference? Paul Kimmage, one of Lance Armstrong's most outspoken critics during Lance's 7 Tours wins and subsequent comeback in 2009 and 2010. Paul Kimmage's response: Lance, you're confusing me with one of those Muppets that used to dance to your tune. Whew. Paul Kimmage. Do you honestly believe that your iniquities are so benign you can ignore another person's request for reconciliation? Is that what you're saying? My assumption in the years that you leveled suspicions and criticisms at the sport of professional cycling and the U.S. Postal Team and the Discovery Team and the Astana Team and Lance Armstrong and many others, that your hope was that through the admission and exposure of cheating, what we would eventually be able to see was an authentic spectacle, a level playing field of clean cycling and sport. Perhaps that was not your intention, and by not engaging with somebody that is looking to be reconciled with the sport by speaking the truth, you are a hypocrite and you are part of the problem. And it makes me wonder, was your intention to further your own ambitions, to bolster your own ego, or did you really want to see the sport of cycling cleaned up, and so that what we're watching we can believe to be a true expression of your God-given talent, of your dedication, of your training, and sometimes a little bit of luck. But please let me know. I'd be happy to talk about it with you at any time. And further, all persons, every single person has been seduced by the glamour of evil. And without reconciliation, there is no solution. There is never the chance to be reconciled and move forward. So keep that in mind. And I'm hoping that you will interview Lance. And Lance has been very candid, and he promises a no-holds-barred discussion. Any question you want to ask, it could be elucidating, and it could further my hope, the fight against doping in cycling. So best of luck with that. All right, let's move on to the tweet of the week. Carter Jones, tweet of the week. This is a good one. This has happened to me. I don't know if this happened to anybody else, but this has happened to me. Not every single Sunday, but this is what somebody yelled at Carter Jones. Out of my way, bicyclist. I am late for church. Oh my God. The dangers of Sunday morning riding. So true. So true. The most dangerous place to ride is anywhere near a church parking lot when there's a service going on inside. So thank you, Carter Jones. That's a great tweet of the week. Praise Jesus! Praise the Lord! I'm late praising the Lord. I gotta run over some cyclists. Oh my God, what are they doing? In my way, on my way to church. Get these bicyclists out of the road, especially Sunday morning. Oh my goodness. All right, that's it. Comments, subscriptions, please keep them coming. Follow me on Twitter and Facebook if you dare. Or if you're Oleg Tinkoff, don't follow me on. That's it for this week. Thumbs up if you appreciate these videos. Thanks a lot, everybody. And by doing so, just shoots right across 2 lanes of traffic. And as the breakaway exits, you can just see them now. Barely avoiding disaster. And I've asked the UCI all year to do something about the safety of the riders, and